The signal. Dr. Sarah Chen stood frozen before her computer screen at the SETI Institute, her coffee forgotten and growing cold beside her keyboard. The pattern she'd been tracking for the past 3 weeks had finally resolved into something undeniable. Her hands trembled as she reached for her phone to call the Institute's director. Dr. Rodriguez, you need to see this. Now. Within an hour, the quiet research facility transformed into a hub of frantic activity. Scientists from every department crowded around Sarah's workstation, their faces illuminated by the rhythmic pulses on her display. The signal was unlike anything ever recorded, a complex mathematical sequence that couldn't possibly be natural. It's not coming from any known star system, Sarah explained, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The signal's origin point is moving. Whatever's sending this is headed directly toward Earth. Dr. Rodriguez, a veteran astronomer with 30 years of experience, removed his glasses and wiped them slowly. How long? At current velocity, 6 months. The news spread through official channels like wildfire. Within days, every major observatory on Earth confirmed the findings. Humanity had received its first definitive proof of intelligent alien life, but the celebration was short-lived. Analysis of the signal revealed more than just proof of existence. It contained a message. Major Emma Torres, head of the newly formed Global Defense Initiative's Signal Analysis Team, was the first to crack it. It's not a greeting, she announced to the assembled UN Security Council. It's a declaration. They're calling themselves the Nexians, and they've already claimed Earth as their territory. This isn't first contact. It's a notice of eviction. The world's governments struggled to maintain order as the news leaked. Some panicked, others denied, but most of humanity did what it had always done in the face of overwhelming odds. It prepared. Dr. Chen worked with international teams to analyze every scrap of data from the signal, searching for any advantage. Major Torres coordinated with military forces worldwide, developing strategies against an enemy they knew nothing about. And in laboratories and workshops across the globe, humanity's greatest minds worked tirelessly to advance their technology as much as possible before the arrival. The Nexian signal contained specifications for their ships, a deliberate intimidation tactic. Each vessel was the size of a small city, powered by technology that seemed to defy physics itself. Their weapons could reshape matter at the atomic level. Their shields could withstand the heat of a star's corona. But as humans studied the signal, patterns emerged that the Nexians hadn't intended to reveal. Dr. Chen noticed it first. Subtle fluctuations in the signal's frequency that suggested their seemingly perfect technology had limitations. They're showing off, she explained to the Global Defense Council, but they're also showing us their hand. These ships, they're resource-intensive. The energy requirements are astronomical. They can't maintain full power indefinitely. Major Torres leaned forward. You're saying they have a weakness. Every system has constraints. The laws of physics apply to everyone, even them. We just need to find the right pressure point. As the months passed, humanity transformed. Old rivalries were set aside. Resources and knowledge were shared freely between nations. Underground cities were constructed, designed to preserve Earth's population and culture. But unlike in countless science fiction stories, these weren't just bunkers. They were laboratories, factories, and command centers. The Global Defense Initiative established a network of quantum-encrypted communications, knowing their conventional systems would be useless against advanced alien technology. Teams of hackers and programmers worked to develop systems so fundamentally different from standard computing that they hoped the Nexians wouldn't be able to predict or counter them. Dr. Chen's team made another crucial discovery 3 months before the expected arrival. The signal's not just a message, she announced during an emergency session of the World Science Council. It's also a scan. They're actively mapping Earth's defensive capabilities, infrastructure, and technology levels. They think they know exactly what they're dealing with. A slow smile spread across Major Torres's face. Then let's make sure they don't know everything. It's time to go dark. Operation Blackout began immediately. Fake military installations were constructed while real ones were hidden. Decoy power plants operated at full capacity while actual production moved underground. Every scrap of data the Nexrians collected was carefully curated to present Earth as exactly the kind of primitive, disorganized world they expected to find. 1 month before the estimated arrival, Dr. Chen made her final presentation to the Global Defense Council. They think they're dealing with a Type 0 civilization, scattered, technologically primitive, and easy to conquer. They expect us to either surrender immediately or waste our resources in futile direct confrontation. But humanity has something the Nexrians don't understand: adaptability. Major Torres stepped up beside her. We've spent 6 months preparing not just our defenses, but our deception. When they arrive, they'll find exactly what they expect, and that will be their first mistake. As the day of arrival approached, humanity waited in its carefully constructed shell of apparent vulnerability. In underground cities and hidden bunkers, people gathered around screens, watching the skies. They were afraid, yes, but they were also ready. The Nexrians had sent their signal as an act of intimidation, never considering that they'd given humanity exactly what it needed: time to prepare and information to exploit. Dr. Chen stood at her new monitoring station, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, watching as the first anomalies appeared in Earth's upper atmosphere. "They're here," she announced over the quantum-encrypted global network. "And they have no idea what they're actually facing." The greatest battle in human history was about to begin, and humanity's greatest advantage was that their enemies believed victory was already certain. First contact. The Nexrian ships emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their crystalline structures reflecting sunlight like artificial constellations. 7 massive vessels, each larger than Manhattan, positioned themselves strategically around the globe. Their arrival was exactly as their signal had promised: a display of overwhelming technological superiority. Commander Zix 427, the Nexrian fleet's leader, observed Earth through arrays of quantum sensors. Everything matched their preliminary scans: primitive satellite networks, inefficient power grids, and scattered military forces scrambling in predictable patterns. The commander's facial tentacles rippled with amusement. This would be another routine acquisition for the Nexrian Empire. "Begin the standard intimidation protocol," Zix 427 ordered. "Let's see how quickly they surrender." The ships activated their primary energy matrices, creating massive light shows visible from the ground. In every major city, humans gathered in streets and on rooftops, pointing at the spectacle above. News channels broadcasted panicked reports, and military jets scrambled only to turn back when they reached the edges of the ship's apparent defense perimeters. Deep underground, Major Torres watched the display through secure feeds. "They're following the exact pattern we predicted," she reported to the Global Defense Council. "Phase 1 is proceeding as planned." The Nexrians' first broadcast came exactly 1 hour after their arrival, transmitted simultaneously to every electronic device on Earth. Commander Zix 427's holographic image appeared worldwide, its alien features carefully engineered to inspire terror in primitive species. "People of Earth," the message began, translated into all major languages. "Your world now belongs to the Nexrian Empire. Surrender within 1 planetary rotation, and you will be permitted to serve as a protectorate species. Resist, and we will demonstrate the true power of superior civilization." In the White House Situation Room, President Helena Martinez exchanged glances with her advisors. "Send our response exactly as planned," she ordered. "Let's show them what they expect to see." The world's governments responded with a cacophony of contradictory messages. Some demanded negotiation, others threatened retaliation, and a few immediately surrendered. To the Nexrians, it appeared to be exactly the chaos they anticipated from an unorganized species. Commander Zix 427's tentacles rippled with satisfaction. "Begin Phase 2. Show them a demonstration of power that they cannot ignore. The smallest Nexrian ship moved into position above an uninhabited area of the Sahara Desert, its main weapon charge creating a light show visible across North Africa. The beam that struck the desert floor was bright enough to be seen from orbit, turning several square kilometers of sand into glass. What the Nexrians didn't realize was that every aspect of their demonstration was being analyzed by sensors hidden in satellites they dismissed as primitive weather monitoring devices. Dr. Chen's team worked frantically to process the data. "The energy signature is exactly what we predicted from the signal," she reported. "Their weapons require a precise quantum frequency to maintain coherence, and more importantly, they're using far more power than they should need for this level of demonstration." Major Torres nodded. "They're showing off, burning resources to intimidate us, just like we hoped they would." The next 24 hours followed a script that humanity had spent months preparing for. Military forces made token displays of resistance, carefully calculated to appear desperate but ineffective. Refugee movements channeled civilian populations into underground shelters the Nexrians believed were merely primitive bunkers rather than the advanced command centers they actually were. Commander Zix 427 grew increasingly confident. "These humans are exactly as primitive as our surveys indicated. Begin the resource extraction sequence. Mark all major population centers for processing." But as the Nexrian ships moved into position for their final attack, they encountered their first surprise. Their scans suddenly showed massive energy fluctuations from deep within Earth's crust, fluctuations that hadn't been there moments before. "Impossible," the commander muttered, its tentacles writhing in confusion. "Their technology isn't advanced enough for this." In her underground command center, Dr. Chen activated the quantum interference network, a web of devices that had been hidden beneath the Earth's surface for months. The network didn't try to attack the Nexrian ships directly. Instead, it created a complex pattern of energy fields that interacted with the alien sensors in subtle but crucial ways. "They relied too heavily on their technology," Dr. Chen explained to the Defense Council. "They trust their sensors absolutely. So we're not trying to fool their sensors. We're making their sensors fool them." The Nexrian ship's perfect formation began to waver as their navigation systems encountered unprecedented interference. Their quantum sensors, designed to penetrate any primitive cloaking technology, instead found themselves drowning in a sea of contradictory data. Status report. Commander Zix 427 demanded as warning signals flashed across its command interfaces. "Why are we losing position and control?" "Unknown, Commander," its science officer responded, all four hands moving frantically across control surfaces. "The planet's electromagnetic field is behaving in ways that violate our understanding of planetary physics." That was when humanity launched its first real counterstrike. From hidden silos across the globe, thousands of small, seemingly primitive missiles launched toward the Nexrian ships. The alien sensors registered them as nuclear weapons, primitive, and easily defendable against. But they weren't nuclear weapons at all. Each missile contained a quantum resonance device, designed specifically based on the technical specifications the Nexrians had so helpfully included in their original signal. As the missiles approached, they didn't attempt to penetrate the ship's shields. Instead, they created a complex interference pattern that matched the exact frequency of the Nexrians' power distribution systems. "Clever humans," Dr. Chen whispered as she watched the data streams. "They never considered that we might actually understand how their technology works." The Nexrian ship's shields didn't fail. They did something far worse. They began to resonate with the quantum interference, turning from defensive barriers into massive energy conductors. The ship's own power systems became their greatest vulnerability. Commander Zix 427 watched in horror as system after system began to overload. "This is impossible," it repeated. "They're primitives. They can't possibly understand quantum resonance technology." Major Torres' voice broadcast across all frequencies, allowing her words to penetrate the failing shields. You made 3 mistakes, Commander. First, you assumed that 6 months' warning was only enough time for us to panic. Second, you thought that by showing us your technology, you were intimidating us rather than educating us. And third, most importantly, you believed that humans would react to invasion the way every other species you've encountered has. The Nexian ships hung in Earth's sky, their once perfect formation now broken, their systems caught in a cascading failure of their own energy. They weren't destroyed. Humanity had been careful about that. Instead, they were trapped by their own technology, unable to escape or attack. This isn't a surrender demand, Major Torres continued. This is an invitation to renegotiate. On equal terms, the human factor. Commander Zix 427's command center, once a model of Nexian efficiency, had descended into chaos. Emergency lights pulsed as system after system reported critical failures. The mighty vessels that had conquered countless worlds now hung powerless in Earth's atmosphere, their own energy turned against them. Impossible, the commander muttered again, watching as its crew frantically tried to restore control. Our civilizational index calculations were perfect. They shouldn't have been capable of this level of technological understanding. Dr. Chen's voice came through their compromised communication system, calm and measured. That's because you measured our technology, Commander, but you forgot to account for our potential. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our current level of advancement. It's our ability to learn and adapt. In underground command centers worldwide, humanity's true technological achievements were finally revealed. What the Nexians had dismissed as primitive satellites were actually components of a vast sensor network. The seemingly chaotic refugee movements had been carefully orchestrated to protect Earth's civilian population, while positioning key personnel exactly where they needed to be. Your civilization has conquered worlds by following the same playbook every time. Major Torres explained to the immobilized Nexian fleet. You find a species, evaluate their technology, and if they're less advanced, you overwhelm them with superior firepower. But you never considered what would happen if a species used your own evaluation process against you. In their ships, the Nexians were beginning to realize the full extent of humanity's deception. The primitive power plants they detected on the surface were decoys. The real power grid lay underground, based on hybrid technology that combined human innovation with reverse-engineered principles from the Nexians' own signal. Dr. Chen's team had done more than just analyze the alien technology. They had fundamentally reimagined it. Your quantum systems are incredibly advanced, she explained, but they're also rigid. You've optimized them so much that they can only work in exactly one way. We took your basic principles and made them messier, more flexible. Less efficient, maybe, but far more adaptable. The Nexian science officer, reviewing the data from Earth's countermeasure, made a startling discovery. Commander, their technology. It's not just copied from our designs. They've created entirely new applications we never considered. They're using quantum principles in ways that violate our most basic engineering assumptions. President Martinez's voice joined the conversation. We're giving you a choice, Commander. One that's different from the choice you gave us. Instead of surrender or destruction, we're offering collaboration or isolation. Earth is willing to establish diplomatic relations with the Nexian Empire, but only as equals. Commander Zix 427's facial tentacles writhed in confusion. In thousands of years of Nexian expansion, no species had ever countered their technology so effectively. More disturbing still, no species had ever offered terms after proving their capability to destroy their fleet. Major Torres continued the explanation. We've already transmitted the details of our countermeasure to every major world in range of our quantum communication network. If you attempt to retaliate or call for reinforcements, every Nexian ship that approaches Earth will face the same vulnerability. But we're not interested in a prolonged conflict. Dr. Chen's team had prepared a detailed technical analysis demonstrating how humanity had adapted Nexian technology. Your signal taught us the principles, she explained. But human creativity found applications you never imagined. We can help each other advance far more quickly through cooperation than conquest. The Nexrian commander found itself facing a situation unprecedented in its species' history. These humans had not only countered their superior technology, but had done so in a way that demonstrated both intelligence and restraint. They could have destroyed the fleet, but instead, they chose to offer cooperation. In hidden facilities around the globe, humanity's greatest achievements of the past 6 months were finally brought to light. Quantum computing arrays that approached problems from angles the Nexrians had never considered. Energy systems that sacrificed pure efficiency for versatility. Hybrid technologies that combine the best of both human and Nexrian engineering principles. Your civilization has achieved remarkable things through optimization and standardization, President Martinez observed. Humanity's strength lies in our diversity of approach. Imagine what we could achieve together. The Nexrian command staff watched in amazement as humans demonstrated technology after technology that shouldn't have been possible at their development level. But more surprising than the technologies themselves was how they'd been created. Through collaboration between different scientific disciplines, through combining seemingly unrelated principles, through what the Nexrians would have considered incorrect applications of advanced principles. We don't just adapt to challenges, Dr. Chen explained. We thrive on them. Every obstacle you presented, every piece of information you intended to intimidate us with, became a tool for our advancement. That's the human factor your calculations couldn't account for. Major Torres laid out humanity's terms clearly. The Nexrian fleet would be allowed to restore their systems gradually, under supervision. Earth would establish diplomatic relations with the Nexrian Empire, but as a sovereign world, not a conquest. And most importantly, both civilizations would share their technological insights, learning from each other's strengths. Commander Zix 427 made the most difficult decision of its career. The Nexrian Empire, it announced, accepts these terms. Its facial tentacles formed the pattern indicating formal respect, something no Nexrian had ever shown to a supposedly lesser species before. As the tension began to ease, Dr. Chen couldn't help but smile. You know, Commander, your people made one fundamental mistake in your calculations. You assumed that giving us 6 months' warning and detailed technical specifications would make us easier to conquer. Instead, you gave humanity exactly what it does best with: a challenge, a deadline, and just enough information to spark our innovation. Underground revolution. As negotiations with the Nexrians began in earnest, humanity revealed the true scope of their underground revolution. The network of bunkers and facilities that honeycombed the Earth's crust wasn't just a defensive measure, it was the birthplace of a technological renaissance. Dr. Chen led a delegation of Nexrian scientists through one of the primary research facilities beneath the Rocky Mountains. Their facial tentacles rippled with expressions of disbelief as they observed humans working with hybrid technologies that shouldn't have been possible. You have to understand, she explained. When we received your signal, we didn't just see a threat. We saw an opportunity. Every piece of technical data you included became a springboard for innovation. The facility's central chamber housed what the humans had dubbed the Quantum Forge, a massive experimental laboratory where traditional human engineering merged with reversed engineered Nexrian principles. Teams of scientists from different disciplines worked side by side, approaching problems from multiple angles simultaneously. Your civilization perfected quantum manipulation through careful optimization, Dr. Chen continued. We took those same principles and deliberately introduced controlled chaos. The results weren't as efficient as your methods, but they opened up entirely new possibilities. Major Torres guided another group through the military applications section, where the defensive systems that had neutralized the Nexrian fleet were developed. We knew we couldn't match your technology directly, she explained, so we didn't try. Instead, we looked for ways to turn its strengths into vulnerabilities. The Nexrian military attaché, watching demonstrations of human tactical innovations, began to understand why their standard invasion protocol had failed so completely. You didn't just prepare defenses, it observed. You created entirely new ways of thinking about warfare. Necessity breeds innovation, Torres replied. When faced with superior technology, we had to think beyond conventional military doctrine. Every human conflict in history has taught us that superior technology doesn't guarantee victory. Adaptation and innovation do. In another section of the facility, President Martinez hosted Commanders X-427 for a demonstration of humanity's most ambitious project. The massive chamber they entered contained what appeared to be a miniature city, but one that integrated both human and Nexrian design principles. This is our vision for the future, Martinez explained. Not just survival, but transformation. We're not interested in simply defending against advanced civilizations. We want to help shape the future of interstellar relations. The model city showcased how human architects and engineers had reimagined urban development using Nexrian technology. Buildings incorporated quantum stabilization fields in ways the Nexrians had never considered. Transportation systems combined conventional physics with quantum tunneling in elegant new configurations. Commander X-427's scientific advisor made a startling observation. These designs, they're solving problems we didn't even know we had. Your species' tendency toward unconventional thinking has revealed limitations in our own approaches that we never recognized. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, another team led by Dr. Chen's colleague, Dr. James Wong, demonstrated how humanity had adapted Nexrian power generation principles to work in harmony with Earth's natural systems rather than against them. Your civilization masters environments by overwhelming them with technology, Dr. Wong explained. We looked for ways to work with our planet's existing processes, less efficient in pure energy terms, perhaps, but far more sustainable in the long run. The underwater facility housed experimental generators that tapped into the Earth's magnetic field using hybrid human Nexrian technology. The power output was lower than pure Nexrian systems, but the integration with natural processes made them far more stable and resilient. In orbit, hidden stations revealed themselves, showing how humanity had secretly begun adapting their space program to incorporate advanced principles. These weren't just defensive platforms. They were the beginnings of a new type of space exploration infrastructure. We've spent 6 months not just preparing for your arrival, Major Torres explained to the increasingly amazed Nexrian delegation, but preparing for everything that would come after. Whether that was going to be a prolonged conflict or, as we hoped, a new era of cooperation. The Nexrian commander, watching humans and their technology in action, began to understand why its species' standard evaluation protocols had failed so completely. Humanity hadn't just survived their test, they had fundamentally changed the rules of engagement. Dr. Chen brought the grand tour to its conclusion in a vast underground chamber that served as humanity's new United Nations. Representatives from every nation sat together, their former conflicts set aside in the face of both challenge and opportunity. This is who we really are, she told the Nexrian delegates. Not just a species that can adapt to threats, but one that can turn those threats into opportunities for growth. We don't want to just survive in the galaxy. We want to help make it better. Commander X-427, watching the proceedings, made a decision that would change the course of Nexrian history. The Empire's Council must know of this, it announced. Your species has demonstrated not just technological aptitude, but a fundamental understanding of principles we had thought were beyond your grasp. More importantly, you've shown us approaches we never considered. Victory in unity. 3 months after the failed invasion, Earth's skyline had transformed. The Nexrian ships no longer loomed as threats but served as bridges between two civilizations. The crystalline structures that had once inspired terror now hosted diplomatic missions and joint scientific ventures. In the newly established Interspecies Council chamber, carved deep beneath the Himalayas, President Martinez addressed representatives from both Earth and the Nexrian Empire. The chamber itself was a testament to the emerging partnership. Human architecture seamlessly blended with Nexrian technology, creating a space that spoke to both species' sensibilities. Today marks not just a new chapter for Earth, Martinez began, but a fundamental shift in how civilizations interact across the galaxy. We've proven that first contact doesn't have to end in either submission or conflict. Commander Zix 427, now serving as the Nexrian Empire's first ambassador to Earth, rose to address the assembly. Its facial tentacles formed patterns that the humans present had learned to recognize as expressions of profound respect. The Empire's Council has reviewed our findings, it announced. For the first time in our history, we are formally amending our protocols for encountering new civilizations. The human factor, as you call it, has taught us that technological advancement cannot be measured solely by current capabilities. Dr. Chen presented the latest results from the joint research initiatives. Hybrid technologies were advancing at a pace that surprised even the most optimistic predictions. Human creativity combined with Nexrian precision had unlocked possibilities that neither civilization had imagined possible. We've learned as much from your methodical approach as you've learned from our adaptability, she explained. The combination of human intuition and Nexrian optimization has created entirely new fields of study. Major Torres, now heading Earth's first interstellar defense force, demonstrated how the integration of human and Nexrian military doctrine had evolved. The planetary defense system had been redesigned not just to protect Earth, but to serve as a model for cooperative security throughout explored space. We're not just defending ourselves anymore, she noted. We're creating a framework for how different species can work together to ensure mutual security and advancement. In orbit, the first joint human-Nexrian space station neared completion. Unlike the purely functional Nexrian designs or the cramped human structures, this new facility represented a true merger of approaches. Quantum fields maintained stability, while human-designed living spaces provided comfort and adaptability. Dr. Wang, leading the environmental integration team, had made perhaps the most surprising breakthrough. By combining human understanding of Earth's ecosystems with Nexrian quantum manipulation technology, they had begun developing methods to heal environmental damage and enhance planetary sustainability. Your species sought to conquer nature through technology, he told the Nexrian scientists. We're showing you how to work in harmony with it instead. The results are already exceeding our highest expectations. The Nexrian Empire's Science Council reported unprecedented advances in fields they had considered fully optimized, human approaches to problem solving. What the Nexrians had initially dismissed as primitive and chaotic were revolutionizing their understanding of quantum mechanics, biology, and even space-time itself. Commander Zix 427 addressed the assembly again, this time with news that sent ripples through both human and Nexrian societies. The Empire's Council has made an unprecedented decision. Earth will not only remain independent, but will become the center for a new type of interstellar cooperation. The Human Factor Initiative, as we're calling it, will be established to study and promote the integration of different species approaches to advancement. President Martinez smiled as she unveiled the final part of humanity's response to their place in the galaxy. We accept this honor, but with our own addition. Earth will establish the Multispecies Innovation Center, a place where civilizations can come together not to compete or conquer, but to learn from each other's strengths. Dr. Chen's team had already begun adapting their underground facilities for this new purpose. The very bunkers we built to defend ourselves, she explained, will now serve as classrooms where species can learn to work together. Our greatest weakness, our division into different nations and approaches, has proven to be our greatest strength. The assembly watched as holographic displays showed the plans for Earth's transformation. The planet that had been targeted for conquest would become a beacon of cooperation, a living laboratory where different species could discover new ways to advance together. Commander Zix 427 made one final observation that summed up the profound change in perspective. We came to Earth believing we were superior, only to discover that true superiority lies not in perfection, but in the ability to grow and change. Humanity didn't just survive our test. They showed us a better way forward. As the assembly concluded, Dr. Chen stood at a window overlooking the transformed landscape. Nexrian ships now worked alongside human vessels, their once threatening presence transformed into symbols of cooperation. The quantum interfaces that had been weapons now powered a new generation of clean energy systems. Earth's cities were being rebuilt with technology that honored both human creativity and Nexrian precision. "You know what the greatest victory is?" she asked Major Torres, who stood beside her. "Not that we survived, but that we showed the galaxy a new way to thrive. We turned an invasion into an invitation to all species to discover what we can achieve together." The sun set on a changed Earth, its light reflecting off crystalline structures that no longer inspired fear. Humanity had not just earned its place among the stars, it had changed how the stars themselves would be explored. The future that lay ahead was not one of conquest or submission, but of endless possibility through unity and diversity. The human factor, as it came to be known throughout the galaxy, would forever change how civilizations approached first contact. Earth's legacy would not be as the planet that defeated a superior force, but as the world that showed the galaxy a better way forward, together.